Then when it comes to technologies, we should definitely be leveraging technologies because criminals are. I can't fight, or I can't prevent financial crime or detect financial crime with an Excel spreadsheet and rule-based transaction monitoring. When you have those criminals, we know now that most of the financial crime schemes are cyber-enabled. So how am I going to be fighting or winning that fight this way? I'm never going to win it because they're always 10 steps ahead of us, but at least I can get somewhere. So we should definitely leverage AI, behavioral analytics, machine learnings, etc. I know that in general, compliance is seen only as a cost center because we do not generate any money. However, compliance can help in preventing your organization from receiving hefty fines from the regulator. They can as well make sure that you do not get any regulatory enforcements that could cost you a license to operate. And also, from a reputational perspective, that could stop you from being trialed by the High Court of Social Media. Mm-hmm. So really, I think that's how people should understand that AI and technology should be as well developed within, embedded within the compliance sphere. Lastly, when it comes to education of your customers, I think it's been mentioned earlier in previous discussions, it's very, very important because if you can have the best systems to do AML prevention, you can have good staff that are actually flagging unusual activity to you, but if your customer fall to scams, romance scam, for example, or people that are impersonating your organization, that's still a big problem. So customer awareness is really important, and that could be done via your websites, if you're posting warnings, as well as posting warnings on your LinkedIn. This is really helpful. And actually, I was going to say that it was going to be the last point, but actually the last point, which is very important and has been as well touched upon earlier, it's liaising with your peers, meeting with your industry peers, attending events such as this where intelligence could be shared, best practice could be shared, intelligence, etc. That doesn't cost you anything. I mean, at least here it was free. But also on the internet nowadays, you've got so much information, there's so much resources out there. And it's not just, you don't just have to rely on what, let's say, is published from your country, because crime as well is very much transnational, but you can have access to resources and papers, alerts from different regulators, law enforcement agency, or you even have those reliable investigative journalists that are producing papers. So that's basically it for me.
Right, I enjoy that. So before I also continue, I want to also make a disclaimer. All the questions are my questions, not anyone's questions. But I'm dealing with a compliance person, so I have to make sure I'm complying with what's supposed to be done and said here. So from your last point, you're saying that now we know that crime is what? Transnational. It's transnational. So once it's committed in country A, it can be prosecuted in country B if that's where it was actually done, but the person moved to another country. Now, since it's transnational, do we have compliance also being transnational, such that the compliance in country A is the same compliance in country B, such that when I am entering as a startup, as a new company, I'm entering from country B to country A. Am I going to carry the compliance I have from where I'm coming from, or there is a new set of compliance I have to go and adhere to?
I'm so sorry. You're going to have to adhere to the laws and regulations of the countries you're doing business with. So I think certain companies tend to maybe go to certain countries because they do know that the regulations are not as stringent. But what I would say is we like to complain a lot about the regulators, especially in the UK, we highly regulated, okay? And the reason being is because we are one of the major hubs for money laundering. There are about 90 billion of illicit funds that are laundered in the UK every year. And we are laundering about 40% of the world's dirty money.
Wow.
So we're very, very attractive to criminals because of our infrastructures, our banks, our law firms, our shells, companies, and real estate. So as a result, that's why we have to make sure that our regulations are quite stringent. So I think for me, I see it as like each country, you should develop laws that are aligning with your country risk. So what's working in the UK might not work here in Kenya. You can pick up some of the good practice from the UK that can be applicable to your reality. But if you're trying to just like come and have all the UK regulatory framework applied here, it's going to be a whole disaster. And that is the same thing that happens in organizations. You know, company A in Kenya, company B, it's not the same thing just because it's the same country. So your compliance, we can't copy and paste each policies from each different company adhering to the same company policy is not going to work because you can have your different size, you have different type of customer that you're targeting, etc. So yeah, so unfortunately the response is you are going to have to adhere to the country you're doing business with.
So I'm thinking about what we normally talk about having a borderless Africa. So I'm thinking if probably, say, African Union have a blueprint where most countries are feeding from. So there is a picture. So each and everyone has an idea that these are the kind of compliance rules or regulations that kind of is general that is running through. So when I'm transcending my businesses to other territories, I know these are some of the things that should be there. Not necessarily coming with what is happening in my country, but there is a blueprint of something of that sort, which we are all adhering to. That's what I'm trying to find out, if there is anything of that sort.
In Africa?
Yeah.
No, not officially, no. When I'm thinking, for example, that type of model, I'm thinking more of the European Union. So the European Union, they're adopting money laundering regulation, and then they're expecting every member state to adhere and translate this in their national regulation.
Right.
Obviously, the UK decided to exit, so they have their own regulations now. As a result, so basically that's why as well, if you need to, a country that wants to join the European Union, they need to meet a number of thresholds, etc. So it might be an idea that, well, if the African Union wants to do something similar. Yeah. But at the moment, there's nothing as such.
All right, since there's nothing of that sort in, that's why you are here and that's why we are here. So probably we can come with a charter and then bring it up where it can be a roadmap for us to go. Right. So, Christina, we want to take your final words, and then what do you want to share with us? What are our take-homes?
What I would say is that, okay, I'm based in the UK. People might think that, we get it all together. We're struggling as well when it comes to managing financial crime. Actually, the difference that I found here in Africa is that the innovation bit is really something that's massive. Because obviously, and I think that is pretty much, encouraged by the fact that, we try to build on financial inclusion.
Right.
And actually, I do find that in Africa, there's much more digitalization or money, e-money solution that there is in Europe. Right. The only challenge is, what I would say as well is that there is that problem, unfortunately, in Europe, whereby people think like Africa is a whole country.
Yeah, they do. I don't know who gave them that idea.
Yeah, it's a big continent, but apparently it's a whole country. But it all stems from ignorance. People don't know that actually that many talented people out here. And I'm going to keep it real. I've attended certain conferences in Europe where people were not as well as smart as I've seen here. Right. The only thing is like the ignorance. People are ignorant. So what I would say is that a lot of the Kenyan fintech also have offices in UK. So what you need to do to develop those relationships, if you want to extend, is actually reach out to those people, meet them in person, so they can get a feel that you actually know what you're doing. You know what you're talking about. Because the idea that they have is, in Africa, there's no regulation. It's all wild. It's so dangerous to do business with them. So we're not going to try to onboard them, or we're just going to de-risk it, right? So I think that that's where we need to have like that extra effort where we go out of our way to actually introduce ourselves, because once people know you, then they will trust you and try to do business with you, because there's definitely talent here that they're missing out on.
There's definitely talent here that you are missing out on. Let's give a round of applause to Christelle for taking us through this. We are really, really grateful. Thank you so much.